it is something that it's very easily to identify yourself with, as you said. So if I work in HR, it's very easy to identify myself as a person in HR. But before that, I
Yes.
did other things, and on my personal life, I do other things as well. So there
Yes.
are different,
And we might end up doing other things as well.
yeah,
So there's a core of me which I say is relatively permanent, but not everything.
yes. And that is the important thing. I think, especially when it comes to growth, we can't limit ourselves to just one title, to just one way of doing things, because
Hmm. Hmm.
um, there are many things that can be done, and there are many aspects of ourselves which we might not be aware of as well.
That's really true. That's
And
very, very true.
and I think it's very admirable what you did. You went to live outside the
Admirable
country.
or crazy, Daniel?
No, I find it admirable. Oh, because I think you felt that you've reached some sort of level here
Hmm.
in Malta, and you wanted to expand even further in terms of growth as well. So I do think it's quite admirable, because it takes courage. And
Well, thank you so much for that. It made my day, honestly.
okay,
But yes, it's an enriching experience, I must say. I
mhm,
wouldn't say that it's for everyone,
yeah,
because I admire people who are happy to be where they are, and that's honestly, if a person is happy, then they are happy. I don't always advocate for people to look for more in their career. And now in my new role, especially because I deal with a lot of people who are students at master's levels who have their own career, I don't think that people are all intended to move onwards and upwards. If you are happy with what you do, then your career is what it is for you. um my aspirations for studying and for education, that has been a bit different, because that I've always aspired to reach other levels.
mm,
And honestly, it's not because of titles and so on, it's because I love to learn.
mm.
So I know it sounds crazy, but I love to study.
It's part of the
This
package.
podcast can stop here.
The listeners will drop down. Well, I don't think there's nothing wrong with studying. However, I would say that we have to know ourselves well enough to know how we can study for ourselves. So let me explain. We're all
Yes.
different learners. So if I'm forced to read a book, most probably I won't read it, because I don't enjoy reading as I should be. I think there's value in reading, but that's not the way I consume knowledge. I'd rather sit down and watch a video and sort of make things up, combine the ideas in my own head, and then perhaps read a chapter or two. And so it's a whole mix, it's a whole mind map of things. But I wouldn't say that I enjoy studying. I'd rather I'm very hands-on, so I learn as I go along with practice. So it's important to know what ticks for you when it comes to studying. So because when we hear the term studying, I think most people associate the reading aspect of studying or the research aspect of studying.
Yes, I know. I totally agree with that, Daniel. Um, I don't know if you know, but just before I came here, I was an entrepreneur, so I had my own enterprise for 3 years, which I must say was one of the biggest learning experiences that I have ever had.
Mhm,
I so before I had never seen myself as being self-employed or a freelancer or an entrepreneur. That
mhm,
was a title that I never imagined. And to be honest with you, accepting that was one of the biggest challenges that I had ever faced. So when people used to tell me, "What do you do for a job?" when I just started, it was like it was imposter syndrome on a large scale.
I am in that phase at this stage. So.
It happens. It happens.
Indeed.
And unfortunately,
Indeed.
if we don't speak about it, people will think that it's wrong.
Yes. Yes.
And looking back now, I say it was a very important phase where I started to, first of all, define who I am, because before that, the titles that were given to me were those that defined me.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was the person who's defining who I am, and I did not feel qualified to define who I am.
Mm.
So I would say that I am a corporate trainer and a consultant, but I was afraid to say that I can be that.
Yeah.
You know, it's strange, and I till today my husband is going through that phase, and it's nice to see, because now that we've experienced it, we know how to
Yeah.
tackle. But
Yes.
at a point, if someone used to come and tell me, what do you do? I would have rather run away than answer that question.
No, I get the same feeling, so I can very much relate to that. But
So,
it's funny because when we are in employment and we're sort of working for someone else, and that's nothing wrong with that, it's so easy for us. But when it comes to doing something for ourselves,
mhm.
it's extremely difficult sometimes.
I think about this a lot, Daniel, a lot, even because my current research is focused on ethical decision
Yeah.
making in
Hmm.
organizations. Um, I think about it because I used to think that companies are a real thing, and
Okay.
I used to think that they are a legitimate thing. So if a company tells you that this is your title, then this is your title. And if a company gives you a promotion, then that's because you earned it. If it doesn't, then it's because that you're not worth it.
Hmm.
I don't think that anymore.
Okay.
I think that companies are not exactly a real thing. They are things which are created, sometimes used and sometimes abused, in the sense that people will tell you this is what the company said, but the company is people who take decisions. And sometimes it's people who are afraid to say, I said this. They hide behind a group of decisions where the group said this, but it's not a group. It's usually people who either agree or have to agree or feel that they need to agree.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so today I look at these things probably with a strange outlook. So a company is a group of people who are making decisions together. There is a culture which is very strong as well, and that makes a very big difference, but
It does.
it does not need to be the defining factor.
Hmm. Does. I find this quite interesting. Because most often than not, I think we see company, even myself, I see a company as an entity, sort of its own.
Mhm.
Even in legal terms, a company is an entity. It's a sort of a
Yes,
non-living person.
yes, yes.
But however, I think when I agreed on the fact that when we mentioned the company it decided that. It might not necessarily mean that we are impersonating the company, but a group of people. Because sometimes it's Daniel said that or Corinne said that. We
Yes,
misunderstood
yes,
it.
yes, yes, yes,
But
yes, yes.
yes, we can't abuse it because sometimes we, perhaps what I see is that some people abuse of the company to
Mhm.
hide behind the company name. So if I took the decision and it might be a hard decision, I took it, not the company.
Yes,
If it's just
I
like
took
that.
it on behalf of the entity, which is a created entity, which has legal representation and
Yeah.
so on. But what I look at right now, so it's not whether an entity, a legal entity, is an entity in and of itself,
Hmm.
but rather myself as forming part of an organization. I look at the organization today differently than I used to before.
Hmm.
So for me, an organization is today a group of people who make decisions.
Yeah.
Usually they try to do them in good faith, sometimes not so much.
Mm.
So I do not take um, the opinion of a company to be the hard truth. I still question quite a bit.
Hmm.
And I know it's a strange outlook, and and I've arrived. I think a lot. I tend to think a lot, and probably too much. And so this has come through a lot of years of and experiences
Hmm.
that I have gone through, some of which are not easy. But then again, no one has a really easy life anyway.
That's for sure.